Good morning. As the city wakes, a political storm is brewing at the heart of the UK government. Major news from the United Kingdom: Prime Minister Keir Starmer's government is facing a sudden and dramatic crisis. Two of his most senior aides have abruptly resigned, sending shockwaves through the corridors of power and raising urgent questions about the stability of his administration. These weren't just any staffers. They were central to Starmer's strategy, daily operations, and the inner workings of Number 10. Their sudden departures have sent shockwaves through Westminster, leaving politicians and journalists scrambling for answers. The resignations happened over a single weekend, hinting at a deep, fast-moving crisis that caught even insiders off guard. Allegations of scandal, old connections to controversial figures, and questions of judgment are swirling, fueling intense speculation in the media. The UK is already facing a cost of living crisis and economic uncertainty. Now, government chaos only adds to the turmoil and anxiety felt by ordinary citizens. People across the country are worried the government's focus is shifting away from urgent national issues, leaving them feeling unheard and uncertain about the future. Starmer is under immense pressure to regain control, restore confidence, and reassure both his party and the public that he can lead through this storm. This isn't just about staff changes. It's about trust, accountability, and the far-reaching consequences of leadership decisions made at the very top. A controversial appointment has spiraled into a full-blown crisis, with every move now under intense scrutiny. The fallout now threatens to define Starmer's premiership, impact the UK's global standing, and shape the country's political future. Let's unpack how this all unfolded, and what it could mean for the days ahead. Who are the key figures at the center of this crisis? As the dust settles on a dramatic week in British politics, all eyes are on the individuals whose departures have sent shockwaves through Westminster. Morgan McSweeney, Starmer's chief of staff and chief strategist, was the architect of Labour's election victory. His influence stretched far beyond campaign strategy. He was the driving force behind the party's transformation and its path to power. He was the Prime Minister's closest advisor, shaping every major decision and acting as a crucial bridge between the leader and the wider party machinery. Tim Allen, the communications chief, managed the government's message and media relations. He was responsible for crafting the narrative that reached the public and the press. Allen, a veteran from the Tony Blair era, was brought in to sharpen the government's public image. His experience in crisis management and media strategy was seen as vital to the administration's success. Both men were part of Starmer's inner circle, one the political brain, the other the public face. Their partnership was at the core of the government's daily operations. Their combined experience made them indispensable, providing both strategic vision and public credibility. Their sudden resignations create a power vacuum at the heart of government, leaving colleagues and observers stunned. It's like losing both captain and navigator in a storm, with the ship now left to weather the turmoil alone. Such high-level departures signal a crisis too severe to ignore. The corridors of power are filled with uncertainty, and the media is in a frenzy. Westminster is now buzzing with speculation about what went wrong and who might step in to fill the void left behind. The government's stability is in question, and the coming days will be crucial in determining its future direction. The crisis erupted over a single weekend, sending shockwaves through the heart of the UK government. On Sunday, February 8th, Morgan McSweeney resigned, admitting he'd pushed for a controversial appointment that would soon dominate headlines and spark intense debate. This was a bombshell. He was Starmer's closest confidant, a strategist whose influence shaped key decisions at the very top. The next day, Tim Allen, the communications director, also quit, compounding the sense of crisis and uncertainty. Allen's statement called for a new team, code for a broken operation, and a clear sign that the internal machinery was faltering. Both resignations were directly linked to the fallout from the appointment of Peter Mandelson as ambassador to the US, a move that had already raised eyebrows across Westminster. Losing two top aides in just 2 days signaled chaos at the top and left the government reeling. The departures exposed deep divisions and a breakdown of trust in Starmer's team, with rifts that had been simmering now laid bare for all to see. The Prime Minister was left isolated, just as the scandal was breaking, and the media frenzy intensified. These weren't just personnel changes, they were public admissions of grave errors in judgment, and the consequences were immediate and severe. The Mandelson affair had now cost Starmer his most vital team members, leaving a leadership vacuum at the worst possible moment. The government's image of competence was shattered, and public confidence began to erode rapidly. Starmer was suddenly on the defensive, fighting to regain control as the nation watched, wondering what would happen next. Why was Peter Mandelson's appointment so explosive? Mandelson, a key architect of New Labour, has a history of political controversy and past resignations. Starmer's decision to make him ambassador to the US was a risky gamble, championed by McSweeney. The gamble backfired when US Justice Department files implicated Mandelson in potential misconduct. The files included emails suggesting Mandelson leaked sensitive government information during the 2008 financial crash. He allegedly discussed UK asset sales and tax policy with outsiders. A serious breach if true. Mandelson is now under police investigation in the UK for misconduct in public office. The scandal forced Starmer to fire Mandelson, but the damage was done. The crisis has now come full circle, with the resignations of those who pushed for Mandelson's appointment. Starmer's judgment is under intense scrutiny. The government's credibility is at stake. The scandal deepened with a link to Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier. Released emails suggest Mandelson leaked financial information to Epstein during the 2008 crisis. These emails show Mandelson, then a government minister, discussing confidential UK plans with Epstein. Such leaks would be a major abuse of power, potentially for personal gain. Mandelson denies wrongdoing, but hasn't directly addressed the leaked emails. The Epstein connection makes the scandal even more toxic. For Starmer, having his ambassador tied to Epstein is a political nightmare. The crisis has become a question of integrity at the highest level. With his government in turmoil, Starmer had to act fast. He gathered his staff, urging unity and a renewed focus on the cost of living crisis. Publicly, Starmer distanced himself from Mandelson, accusing him of deceit about his Epstein ties. Starmer claimed he wasn't given the full picture when making the appointment. To show transparency, he promised to release all documents related to Mandelson's appointment. But critics say the real issue is Starmer's own judgment. Why wasn't Mandelson properly vetted, given his controversial past? McSweeney's resignation doesn't absolve Starmer. Ultimate responsibility is his. Starmer now faces pressure from within his own party to restore confidence. He's set to meet Labour lawmakers, where he must reassert his authority. Whispers of resignation are already circulating. Starmer's political survival hangs in the balance. The opposition has pounced on the government's turmoil. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch called Starmer a plastic bag blowing in the wind, weak and directionless. The main attack: Starmer's catastrophic judgment in appointing Mandelson. Mandelson's controversial history was public knowledge. Proper vetting should have stopped his appointment. The opposition claims this shows Starmer's lack of foresight and control. The scandal gives critics powerful ammunition to paint the government as incompetent and chaotic. Media and political rivals are questioning Starmer's leadership. The image of competent Starmer built is now in tatters. Instead of a steady hand, he looks blindsided by a crisis of his own making. This perception of weakness is politically dangerous. The attacks are likely to intensify. The political drama is hitting the UK economy. Financial markets hate uncertainty, and the Downing Street chaos has spooked investors. UK government borrowing costs are rising, making it more expensive to fund public services. Investors worry about who's in charge of economic policy. The crisis suggests a lack of control and unpredictable policy changes. Higher borrowing costs mean less money for schools, hospitals, and infrastructure. This undermines Starmer's agenda to tackle the cost of living crisis. The scandal is now a financial headache, not just a political one. International investors are watching closely. If confidence in the UK government drops, so could the currency and investment. Starmer must restore order to reassure both markets and the public. This crisis matters to everyone in the UK. It's about government competence and integrity. With families struggling, they need leaders focused on real problems, not internal chaos. The resignations and investigation distract from urgent national issues. Can this government still lead effectively? Globally, the UK's turmoil sends worrying signals to allies, especially the US. A weakened Prime Minister makes the UK look unreliable on the world stage. Scandals involving figures like Epstein erode public trust in politics. For Starmer, who promised integrity, this is especially damaging. His core political identity is now under threat. The coming weeks will test his leadership like never before. He must rebuild his team and restore public confidence. The UK needs a functioning government to navigate tough times. The world is watching to see if Starmer can weather the storm.